Most brands have built obscure, unexpected models to timidly test an unfamiliar segment of the market to please executives who demand it at board meetings. Some have even dabbled outside of car manufacturing to explore other sectors of business. Join us as we look at moments when automakers stepped out of their comfort zone to try something new, for better or worse. The Alfa Romeo Dauphine was born for economic reasons. Renault needed a cost-effective way to distribute its cars in Italy. Alfa Romeo, owned by the Italian government at the time, sought a volume model to keep workers occupied. Alfa agreed to build the Dauphine in its Milan factory, and Renault pledged to distribute Alfa models through its dealer network in France. The Italian-built Dauphine looked just like its French counterpart except for minor details such as brand-specific emblems on the front wings and above the rear number plate. The mechanical changes included a 12-volt electrical system instead of the Renault 6-volt system. Alfa Romeo also produced the Ondina more upscaled Dauphine and the 4. Renault ended the partnership in 1964, and there's no evidence it held up its side of the deal. Citroën built a small personal helicopter as a last-ditch attempt to cash in on its Comotor fiasco. Comotor was a joint venture with NSU to make rotary engines. Named RE2, the company's first and only helicopter used an evolution of the ill-fated GS Birotor's Wankel engine equipped with larger rotors and a fuel injection system designed in-house. Early on, Citroën removed the prototype's doors in case something went wrong and the test pilots had to jump out mid-flight. No one had to use the parachute, but the RE2 failed to obtain flight certification because its engine overheated high in the rev range. Development continued at a snail's pace until new owners Peugeot ordered Citroën to immediately end the project and focus on more lucrative ventures, like finally concocting a replacement for the 2CV. The prototype flew for a total of 38 hours. Buick isn't the brand that comes to mind when you think of performance, unless you're thinking about performance during a golf tournament for their drivers. And yet, in the 1980s, General Motors' semi-premium brand made its homely Regal faster than a Chevrolet Camaro. The Grand National made its debut in 1982 to celebrate Buick's success in NASCAR racing. The original car's 4.1-liter V6 could only muster up 125 horsepower. Buick axed the nameplate in 1983 but brought it back in 1984 with 200 horsepower from a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6. Power gradually increased leading up to the 1987 GNX, one of Buick's most collectible models. On paper, the limited edition GNX boasted 276 horsepower. In reality, the number was closer to 300. Buick undervalued performance numbers to protect the Chevrolet Corvette's image, in yet another example of GM worrying more about its own brands rather than thinking about those of its competitors. An esteemed company known for making two-seater supercars steps out of bounds and comes back with an SUV. Sound familiar? It's par for the course today, but it was an unbelievable plot twist when Lamborghini released the LM002 in 1986. The LM002 project started when Lamborghini tried securing a contract to manufacture an off-roader for the American Army. Heavy and rear-engined, its Cheetah prototype was unimpressive at best. Officials gave the contract to AM General's Humvee instead. Lamborghini wasn't in a position to waste time and money, so it used the knowledge gained during the Cheetah project to develop the LM002, its first SUV. Lamborghini will unveil its second SUV, the 600 bhp V8 Urus, in December. The GMC Cyclone looked like a lowrider from one of the unsavory parts of Los Angeles, but it's actually a factory-built hot rod with a surprising amount of power under the bonnet. Starting with a Sonoma pickup, GMC added a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6 developed specifically for the model and coupled it to a 4-speed automatic transmission. The six-cylinder made 280 horsepower. Car Driver magazine believed General Motors' truck-building division had a Ferrari killer on its hands, so it headed to a drag strip to test its hypothesis. Helped by a rear-biased all-wheel drive system, the Cyclone famously beat a 348 TS in a quarter-mile race. You would expect a startup, not General Motors, to launch a car like the EV1. Its forward-thinking, flying saucer-like design was only the beginning. The EV1 used a 137 horsepower electric motor connected to a 16.5 kilowatt-hours battery. Aluminium and plastic reduced its weight to approximately 1,400 kilograms. GM offered the EV1 through a lease program in select U.S. states. It cancelled the project in 2003, citing the impossibility of producing such an advanced car profitably. Customers protested as they reluctantly returned the cars. Most of the 1147 examples built ended up recycled, which spurred dramatic conspiracy theories. Some argued GM killed the EV1 out of fear, demonstrating the feasibility of an electric car would lead to stricter emissions regulations, while others believed big oil companies paid to have the program cancelled to protect their interests. We choose to believe GM just couldn't make any money on a car that was truly 15 or so years too early. As its confidence grew, Kia began wishing for a halo model positioned at the top of its lineup. It contacted Lotus to talk about jointly developing a sports car, but the negotiations took an unexpected turn when it ended up purchasing the rights to produce the M100 generation Elan. The two cars were nearly identical from the outside, but the Kia Elan used a 151 horsepower 1.8-litre engine from the Sophia. The Elan made a lot of sense as a Lotus. It was an odd car from a company synonymous with bargain basement econoboxes like the Pride. Kia produced less than 1,000 examples. Most were sold in South Korea, but a tiny amount trickled into the UK. Mercedes-Benz first entry into the city car segment raised more than a few eyebrows at the 1997 Frankfurt Auto Show. The original A-Class was neither sporty nor luxurious, and its unconventionally tall body sat on the brand's first front-wheel drive platform. Early examples made headlines when they failed the ELK test, which consists of performing an evasive maneuver at about 50 miles per hour. After stopping A-Class sales for 3 months, Mercedes remedied the problem by installing electronic stability control and making changes to the suspension. The rationale behind the Blackwood was, if Lincoln can sell an SUV, it can sell a pickup truck, too. The Ford F-150-based Blackwood got a navigator-like front end, faux wood paneling on the sides and a carpet-lined cargo compartment hidden under a power-operated plastic cover. The concept made sense on paper, but buyers met Lincoln's first pickup with skepticism. It offered none of the versatility they looked for in a pickup, and it only came with rear-wheel drive. Production ended a little over a year after its introduction, making it the shortest-lived model ever to join the Lincoln lineup. Porsche predicted it could successfully build an off-roader several decades before introducing the Cayenne, but it didn't have the money to see the project through until the early 2000s. The Cayenne was the company's first full-production four-door model, and that alone didn't sit well with brand purists. They scoffed at the idea and speculated it would destroy the Porsche brand faster than a 917k laps the Circuit de la Sarthe. Instead, the Cayenne set record sales. It proved the loyalists wrong with sports car-like performance, a trait Porsche has refined over 15 years and 3 generations. We recently drove the all-new third-generation Cayenne in Greece and concluded it reasserts its position as the driver's choice in the SUV segment. A Volkswagen is a people's car by definition. The German company tried rubbing elbows with BMW, Mercedes-Benz and its own Audi division when it introduced the Phaeton. Built on a Bentley platform in a glass-walled factory in Dresden, the saloon stood out from every Volkswagen before it with a raft of luxury amenities, powerful engines and a price tag to match. When we first drove the Phaeton, we predicted it would have a difficult time finding buyers because the Volkswagen emblem doesn't carry nearly as much cachet as a three-pointed star, 4 rings or a roundel. We were right. The Phaeton flopped in America and it didn't do much better in Europe. Volkswagen used middling Chinese sales as an excuse to let it wither on the vine until last year. Introduced at the 2005 SEMA show, the Volvo T6 Roadster channeled American hot rods of the 1930s with an outlandish design reminiscent of 1997's Plymouth Prowler. It utilized numerous parts from the S80 and C70 models, including a 2.9-litre straight-six engine. The T6 Roadster was never considered for production. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Jeep and Land Rover are among the few car companies capable of pulling off a convertible SUV. The body style is in their genes. Nissan built its reputation on solid, mass-market cars, but that didn't stop it from chopping the top off of the second-generation Murano to create what it called the world's first all-wheel drive crossover convertible. We assumed it would be the last, too, but Land Rover took the torch from Nissan with the recently launched Range Rover Evoque convertible. Aston Martin may as well have launched a UFO when it introduced the Signet. It was unlike any model ever to wear the company's winged emblem due to its size, and it was completely different than other cars in its segment due to its price, including the Toyota IQ it was based on. Aston sheepishly explained it made the Signet to comply with fleet average emissions regulations in Europe and avoid paying a hefty fine. Ulrich Bez, Aston's Denso, tentatively believed the brand could sell roughly 4,000 examples. Even rich and open-minded buyers couldn't justify spending BMW 3 Series money on an IQ, and production ended after Aston manufactured approximately 300 examples. Though misconceived, we still get pleasure from occasionally seeing one knocking around the posher parts of London. The emblematic Land Rover Defender traded its turbodiesel 4-cylinder engine for a compact electric motor and a lithium-ion battery pack in the name of research. It kept its four-wheel drive hardware, and it gained a regenerative braking system designed to work with hill descent control technology. The 409 kg battery pack provided roughly 50 miles of range, though the Defender offered an 8-hour range in low-speed off-road driving. Land Rover built 7 examples of the electric Defender between 2012 and 2013. Never seriously considered for mass production, the zero-emissions SUVs participated in a pilot program to help Jaguar Land Rover gather data about electrified powertrains, which will hopefully bear fruit in its first all-electric car, the Jaguar I-Pace, which we expect will be unveiled at the 2018 Geneva Motor Show. The BMW i3 caught everyone off guard. No one expected the self-proclaimed purveyor of ultimate driving machines to launch an upmarket city car. Isn't that what the Mini is for the i3 is as much of a rolling display of technology as it is a premium compact hatchback. But while it sticks out in the BMW lineup with its electric powertrain, size and styling, it's the culmination of an idea BMW has toyed around with since the early 1990s. Notably, the battery-powered Z11 concept car presented at the 1991 Frankfurt Auto Show looks just like the i3's predecessor. Honda's global reach extends well beyond cars. The Japanese company also makes tillers, snowblowers, ATVs, motorcycles and even planes. Officially named HA420, the Honda Jet takes the form of a small aircraft intended as a private plane for travelers in the top tax bracket. It offers space for up to 6 passengers and 2 crew members. We'd say it's the first Honda with wings, but we're afraid the Civic Type R will protest with a rev of its Turbo 4. You can pick one up for around $4.5 million, £3.5 million. Jaguar and Land Rover were sister firms from 1967 to 1984, and once again since 2000 long honored an unwritten arrangement under which the former built saloons and wagons while the latter built SUVs. The rising popularity of SUVs opened up new opportunities for companies like Jaguar who had never considered competing in the segment before. Enter the F-Pace, the first Jaguar bold enough to prowl on Land Rover's turf. Surprisingly, the formula works. We give the F-Pace a better rating than the Range Rover Velar it shares a majority of its bones with. Jeep builds cars to perform on the trail, not on the track, but it couldn't resist the temptation of stuffing a 6.2-litre supercharged Hellcat engine between the Grand Cherokee's front wings. The result is a 697 bhp SUV capable of beating a Porsche 911 down a drag strip with a full IKEA kitchen in the boot. It can also tow up to 3,300 kilograms when the occasion calls for it. The Grand Cherokee Trackhawk is a muscle car you can use to tow your muscle car to the track. After driving it recently, we concluded it's a surprisingly serious and quite refined car. Volkswagen's most popular product has no wheels and no engine. For decades, the company has manufactured pork sausages and uses them to make currywurst, a popular type of fast food in Germany. It distributes its currywurst to workers in some of its factories, in brand-owned restaurants and at events like classic car shows. They're even sold at some grocery stores in Wolfsburg, the company's hometown, along with ketchup also made in Volkswagen's kitchens. The sausages carry their own part number, like a fuel line or a gasket. It's 199398500A for next time you're down at the dealership, and they're shockingly popular. In 2015, Volkswagen made 7.2 million sausages against 5.8 million VW-branded cars.